Do you prepare your dog's BARF diet thinking you're giving them everything they need? The truth is that many homemade menus hide serious flaws, and the tutor only discovers it when the first signs of deficiency appear: hair loss, tiredness, chronic itching, bone problems, and even behavioral changes. It is not enough to offer meat and vegetables. The secret is in the right balance between calcium, iodine, omega-3, zinc, vitamins, and fiber. With correct information and monitoring, the BARF diet can be one of the healthiest ways to nourish your dog. Watch to the end and find out how to turn your best friend's meal into true health and disease prevention. Subscribe to the channel to receive more videos on natural nutrition, health, and well-being for dogs and cats. Activate the bell so you don't miss out on upcoming exclusive content. In the midst of the growing movement for natural dog food, the BARF diet has gained ground among tutors who want to offer a healthier and longer life for their animals. The concept is simple and seductive. Base the diet on raw meats, fleshy bones, viscera, and fresh vegetables, simulating what would be the instinctive diet of a wolf in nature. This idea of giving the dog a more natural menu sounds perfect, but the practice requires much more care than most owners imagine. Because behind this promise of vitality may be hidden a silent trap: nutritional deficiencies that do not appear immediately, but that over months and years leave deep marks on the animal's health. Imagine the scene. An excited tutor starts preparing the dog's meal at home. Put in ground beef, chicken pieces, some raw vegetables, maybe even fruit. The dog devours the bowl with enthusiasm. For the tutor, this is a clear sign that he is doing the right thing. But the reality is that behind the appetite, the meal can be incomplete at critical points. Raw meat alone, for example, does not guarantee all the necessary minerals. Raw vegetables provide fiber and some micronutrients, but do not supply certain vitamins at adequate levels. Poorly chosen bones, or in the wrong amount, can bring excess or lack of calcium, compromising bones and teeth over time. And the tutor will only notice when the dog already shows visible and often irreversible signs. What is really missing from many poorly planned BARF diets? The answer starts with calcium. It is by far the most critically neglected nutrient when the diet is prepared without supervision. The tutor thinks, if I'm offering fresh meat, it's already balanced. But meat is rich in phosphorus, not calcium. This unbalanced ratio causes the dog's body to begin to take calcium from its own bones to maintain vital functions, such as heartbeat and muscle contractions. The result? Brittle bones, weakened teeth, and in severe cases, muscle tetany attacks and seizures. This deficiency may not manifest itself in the first few months, but it silently undermines the animal's structure. The owner only notices it when the dog starts limping, having spontaneous fractures or serious dental problems. Another critical point is iodine, which is almost always absent in homemade diets. This mineral is directly linked to thyroid function, regulating metabolism, growth, and energy. Without iodine, the dog can show lethargy, weight gain, even if he eats little, hair loss, and even behavioral changes. The main natural source of iodine? Seaweed, which is rarely part of a home-cooked diet. Without them, the deficiency sets in invisibly, confusing owners who think that the dog is just getting older, when in fact it is hormonally malnourished. And what about essential fatty acids, such as omega-3? Many BARF diets do not include fatty fish or quality oils, limiting themselves to only red meat or chicken. But the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3 is essential to control inflammatory processes in the body. When there is an excess of omega-6, common in intensively farmed meats, and an absence of omega-3, the dog can suffer from dry skin, chronic itching, dull fur, and even joint inflammatory processes. It is a silent imbalance that translates into constant discomfort for the animal, and which many owners confuse with allergies or seasonal skin problems. Zinc is also among the minerals that are often absent. Essential for skin, coat, the immune system, and healing, zinc is easily lost in diets based only on common meats and vegetables. Without this mineral, the dog has skin lesions, wounds that take time to close, low immunity, and apathy. Zinc deficiency can even affect fertility in both males and females. It is a small nutrient in quantity, but huge in impact. No less important, vitamin D is another critical point. While we humans can synthesize it through sun exposure, dogs depend mostly on food. On a natural diet without oily fish or supplemental sources, deficiency appears. And vitamin D is essential for the metabolism of calcium and phosphorus, for the immune system, and for hormonal balance. The absence of it potentiates bone, joint, and immune problems, a cascade of imbalances that can be confused with chronic diseases when, in fact, the cause is nutritional. These nutrients are not lacking because the tutor does not care, but because the human logic of fresh food is enough does not apply directly. Unlike us, who can vary our diet every day and balance deficiencies with ease, dogs depend on very specific proportions, inherited from millions of years of evolution as predators. Nature solved this by eating whole prey: meat, bones, viscera, skin, blood, and even stomach contents of the herbivorous prey. But when you only offer pieces of meat and a few vegetables, this complexity is lost, and with it, the guarantee of balance. The problem is that the signs of these deficiencies are subtle at first. The tutor may only notice that the fur has lost its shine, that the dog is more tired, that it scratches its ears more, or that it has small changes in appetite. Few associate this with nutritional deficiencies, but these are exactly the first alerts that the animal's body emits before the condition evolves into serious problems. Over time, these small clues become serious diagnoses: anemia, hypothyroidism, osteopenia, chronic skin diseases, low immunity. All of this could be prevented with a truly balanced diet. It is at this point that the big question arises: how to identify in practice that something is missing from the BARF diet, and how to correct this safely without resorting to exaggerations or dangerous improvisations. The answer is to observe the dog closely, recognize the early signals that the body sends, and, above all, understand which nutrients are the most critical not to leave out. The next step, then, is to dive into each clinical sign that may indicate a specific deficiency, understanding what the dog's body is silently asking for. Because every itch, every hair loss, every energy shift can be the key to saving long-term health. When a dog is transitioning to the BARF diet, or has been following it for months, their body begins to silently reveal if something isn't right. These clinical and behavioral signs are like small warning messages that often go unnoticed. They do not appear overnight, and that is why tutors often confuse them with age characteristics, allergies, or normal behavior. But, in fact, every detail can point directly to a nutritional deficiency. The first and most common symptom is excessive hair loss. It is not just about the seasonal change, but tufts that are on the floor, on the sofa, and a visibly opaque aspect of the mantle. The natural shine disappears, and the coat, once silky, becomes rough to the touch. This is usually linked to a lack of essential fatty acids, such as omega-3, or lack of zinc, which acts on skin and coat health. Dogs that do not receive fish or specific sources of quality fat in their diet tend to experience this problem quickly. Another classic sign is constant itching, especially in the ears, paws, and base of the tail. Many owners believe it is a food allergy or flea, but in poorly formulated diets, the problem is often an imbalance of minerals and vitamins. A lack of zinc and vitamin E, for example, alters the skin's natural barrier, making it more vulnerable to irritation and secondary infections. In more advanced cases, lesions and wounds appear that take time to heal, indicating zinc deficiency and immune problems. Lethargy, or loss of energy, is another alert. If the dog sleeps much more than usual, shows a lack of enthusiasm for walks or play, and seems constantly tired, it's time to run a red light. This symptom can be directly related to iodine deficiency, which compromises thyroid function. The dog's metabolism slows down, resulting in apathy, weight gain even when eating little, and even changes in body temperature, such as feeling colder to the touch. Vitamin D deficiency also contributes, as it affects the regulation of calcium and phosphorus, causing muscle weakness. Dental and bone problems deserve to be highlighted. The BARF diet, when it does not include adequate bones or calcium in the correct proportion, creates a dangerous deficit. The dog begins to have more fragile teeth, unusual tartar buildup, and even fractures in seemingly healthy bones. In puppies, this deficiency can cause irregular growth, bone deformities, and developmental delay. In adults, it leads to joint pain, difficulty climbing stairs or jumping, and in the elderly, it accelerates degenerative processes such as arthritis. Another symptom that is often ignored is silent anemia. Pale gums, tiredness, lack of interest in activities, and wheezing after exertion indicate a lack of iron or vitamin B12. Although red meats provide iron, bioavailability may not be sufficient if the diet is repetitive and poorly varied. In addition, without a balance of other micronutrients, the body cannot properly take advantage of the iron present in food. Low immunity is a direct consequence of an incomplete diet. Dogs that get sick frequently, contract recurrent skin infections, or have constant ear infections may be suffering from deficiencies in vitamins A, C, D, and minerals such as selenium and zinc. The tutor often associates these episodes with bad luck or low breed resistance, but in practice, it is the body warning that there is a lack of immune support in the diet. Recurring digestive problems are also on this list. Very soft stools, with a strong odor or the presence of mucus, can indicate an imbalance in fiber and a lack of certain minerals that aid digestion. Extremely hard and dry stools, on the other hand, can be linked to excess bones without the counterpart of correct vegetables and viscera. The balance of the gut microbiota depends not only on the variety, but also on the quality of the ingredients. The absence of natural prebiotics, such as fiber from certain fruits and vegetables, harms the gut flora, compromising nutrient absorption. Another revealing detail is the change in behavior. Nutritional deficiencies not only affect the body, but also the dog's mind. A lack of B vitamins can result in irritability, increased anxiety, and difficulty concentrating in workouts. Dogs that were once quiet can become agitated for no apparent reason, while others become apathetic and indifferent. These are subtle changes, but they indicate that the nervous system is not receiving adequate support. In some cases, eye problems appear. Corneal opacity, eye dryness, or exaggerated sensitivity to light may be associated with vitamin A and zinc deficiency. Although rare in well-fed dogs, these symptoms are increasingly common on poorly balanced BARF diets. Vision is a direct reflection of the balance of micronutrients, and its deterioration can be slow but progressive. All these signs have something in common: they don't appear overnight. They are the result of weeks and months of unbalanced eating. Therefore, it is essential that the tutor does not wait to reach the point where the veterinarian needs to treat diseases that are already installed. Prevention lies in recognizing early warnings, understanding that natural does not automatically mean complete, and seeking professional guidance before putting together homemade menus. The good news is that all of these signs can be reversed if the deficiency is identified in time. The key is to know how to interpret what the dog's body is asking for and correct it before it's too late. But for this, the tutor needs to know not only the symptoms, but also the safe ways to replace each nutrient. Because just as dangerous as the lack is excess, and supplements used randomly can intoxicate or create new imbalances. Correcting deficiencies in the BARF diet starts with a simple but often overlooked principle. No dog lives on raw meat and loose vegetables alone. The idea of naturalness is valid, but so is the imbalance. And in nature, the wild dog had access to entire prey, which included bones, viscera, cartilage, skin, and even the stomach contents full of fiber. Reproducing this balance at home requires knowledge, variety, and often strategic supplementation. The first step is to ensure calcium in correct proportions. On average, dogs need a calcium to phosphorus ratio of approximately 1.2 to 1. As the meat is rich in phosphorus, the tutor needs to offer adequate raw, fleshy bones, such as chicken necks, wings, and carcasses, always adjusted to the size of the dog to avoid choking. But safety must come first. Cooked bones should never be offered, as they fragment into sharp slivers. When there is no confidence or practice in dealing with raw bones, an alternative is to resort to veterinary-grade bone meal or calcium supplements recommended by animal nutritionists. The essential thing is to never let this nutrient be ignored, as it supports not only bones and teeth, but vital functions such as heartbeat and muscle contractions. The second step is to include natural sources of iodine. Few owners know that common salt does not solve the issue, since dogs should not consume sodium in excess. The best option is to add small amounts of dehydrated seaweed, such as kelp, which provides iodine at adequate levels. The dosage must be precise, since both lack and excess harm the thyroid. This is where the importance of professional monitoring comes in. Home supplements, without exact calculation, can be as dangerous as the deficiency itself. Another crucial point is the balance of essential fatty acids. Intensively farmed meats have an excess of omega-6 and a lack of omega-3, creating an inflammatory environment in the body. To correct this, it is necessary to include cold water fatty fish such as sardines, mackerel, or salmon, always fresh or safely frozen. Another alternative is the use of purified fish oil, which provides EPA and DHA in optimal proportions. These fatty acids reduce inflammation, improve skin and coat quality, and even contribute to brain health. It is a simple addition, but it makes a huge difference in the animal's daily comfort. Zinc can be guaranteed with the inclusion of various red meats, such as beef and lamb, as well as viscera, such as liver and kidney. The problem is that, even in these sources, the bioavailability of zinc is not always sufficient, especially in large breed dogs that have a higher demand for this mineral. In these cases, calculated supplementation becomes necessary, always respecting limits so as not to cause intoxication. Zinc is the guardian of the skin and immune system, and its absence leaves visible marks in the form of lesions, allergies, and low resistance. Vitamin D, in turn, needs to come from the diet, since dogs do not synthesize it efficiently through sun exposure. The best natural way to provide it is with oily fish and raw eggs of good origin. However, as natural variability may not be enough, the use of dog-specific supplements often becomes indispensable. Without vitamin D, calcium and phosphorus metabolism collapses, generating a cascade of problems ranging from the bones to the immune system. In addition to these main nutrients, there are details that make all the difference. The inclusion of adequate fiber from vegetables such as pumpkin, carrots, and zucchini keeps intestinal transit balanced and feeds the healthy microbiota. Fresh fruits in small amounts such as apples, blueberries, and strawberries provide antioxidants that fight free radicals and strengthen the immune system. The viscera, heart, liver, kidney, spleen, cannot be left aside, as they are concentrated sources of B vitamins, iron, and other minerals. Each viscera has a unique role, and variety ensures balance. But there is a detail that many tutors ignore. There is no universal fixed menu in BARF. What works for one dog may be insufficient for another, as weight, age, activity level, and even genetics all influence nutritional needs. An athletic dog, for example, needs more protein and fat, while an elderly person needs to focus on antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals that preserve joints and immunity. Therefore, veterinary monitoring specialized in nutrition is indispensable. It not only adjusts the diet according to periodic examinations, but also identifies deficiencies before they turn into serious diseases. Another essential point is to avoid the mistake of thinking that the more, the merrier. Excess of certain nutrients, such as calcium, iron, and vitamin D, can be just as harmful as a lack. Excess calcium, for example, causes joint and growth problems in puppies. Excess iron overloads the liver, and vitamin D, in high doses, is toxic. Therefore, supplementation should always be calculated, never improvised. The owner who really wants to offer a safe BARF diet should invest in planning and ingredient rotation. Varying proteins week by week, including different viscera, balancing bones and vegetables, and supplementing with sources of fat and micronutrients is the way to avoid deficiencies. Maintaining periodic blood tests and professional follow-up closes the safety cycle. In the end, the big lesson is clear. BARF can be extremely beneficial, but only if done with knowledge. When poorly planned, it turns into a nutritional time bomb, silently harming the dog's health. The attentive tutor learns to observe signs, corrects flaws, and understands that responsibility goes far beyond offering fresh food. It is to nurture with balance, awareness, and care. And when you get this balance right, the results are visible. Shiny coat, renewed energy, strong immunity and longevity with quality of life. Because in the end, the goal of every tutor is the same: to see the dog healthy, active, and happy with the family for many years.